Hi guys, it's day 7 of your Natural Fertility Boost Camp Challenge, and so we're about halfway there. Congratulations, and you're doing awesome. It's so awesome to see how supportive you've been to each other and how you are developing community around fertility, and I think that's so beautiful and it's so moving to see that happening. So thank you so much for being a part of this challenge. And I hope that the information has been valuable for you, and I hope that practicing little teeny things in your day-to-day life that can actually boost your fertility and give you results has been valuable for you. Now keep in mind we are skimming the surface of a really deep and broad lifestyle scope of fertility boosting practices and choices and habits that you can be doing to optimize your fertility. And of course, the real root cause of why I want to bring you this information is that I believe so deeply in the power of your health and your partner's health to bring about the optimal chances of conception, healthy pregnancy, and most importantly, a healthy child. You know, interventions and changes and choices that you're making today can affect your baby's health well into their adulthood. It's amazing. So what we're doing in these 2 weeks is actually giving you tools that you can very easily implement on your own that are going to give you results in both your health and in your future baby's health. So today, as promised, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about caffeine. And caffeine has been it's a popular thing to talk about when it comes to fertility, and overall most sources say that a little bit is okay and a lot is very much a known risk for miscarriage and other issues. And so it's kind of like, well, how much is too much? So I started playing with this idea, and I realized that most of us don't even know how much caffeine we're taking in a day. And there's two main reasons for this. And the first is that caffeine is a natural plant substance. And none of the caffeinated products that we take in, unless you're actually taking a caffeine pill, which I hope you're not, but none of them is going to, or an energy drink, because those are a standard dose of caffeine that's added into that product. Other than that, something like a coffee or a tea or chocolate, there's no standardized dose of caffeine that's in that product. It's a plant. So the plant is responding to its environment and then produces this product. So from a cup of coffee could have 80 milligrams of caffeine to 200 milligrams of caffeine. Again, there's no standardized dosage. We want to start thinking of these beverages as essentially herbal medicines. And because they're not going to be coming in a standardized format, we have to be careful about the overall volume that we're making, and also the strength. So if you pop your tea bag in for 5 seconds and take it out, that's a really low dose of caffeine relative to the, say you soak it for 2 minutes. And the first couple of minutes are the highest extraction of caffeine, and then if you drank your tea and then put more hot water into your cup, that would have substantially less caffeine in that second cup, brewed second time from the same bag. Also coffee, of course, you could put 1 tablespoon in per cup of ground coffee beans, for example, or you could put 4, and the strength of it makes a huge difference. And finally, the volume of our cups is very misleading. So a lot of us think that we're taking in 1 cup a day. And so I just did a little experiment with my own favorite mug, and I decided to actually measure it. And so I think of this as a pretty average size cup, and I filled it with water here today to show you this, and I'm hoping that I'm not going to spill. Sorry, that's loud. And I'm just going to pour it in, and you're going to see how much it is. Can you see that? It's 2 cups. It's totally 2 full cups of water, 16 ounces. So if I were drinking this as a coffee or a tea, I'd be thinking I have a 1 cup a day, but it's already 2 cups. So we have all these factors that are really confusing the picture about how much caffeine we're actually taking in, so that makes it hard to monitor. So your challenge for today is to figure out how much actual volume of your caffeinated beverage, if you're having one, are you taking in? What do you think the strength of that is? And can you reduce it, or do you need to reduce it? Because for women, for fertility, preconception, less than 100 milligrams of caffeine is the ideal, if not zero. And caffeine has been associated with miscarriage risk. So the other thing to know about caffeine is, just like any drug substance, everybody metabolizes it a little bit different speeds. So we all have different enzymes that we have in our liver, and that those come from our genes, and some of us will metabolize or clear the caffeine out of our body very rapidly, and others very slowly. So you could be a slow caffeine metabolizer if let's say you had caffeine in first thing in the morning at 6 a.m. and you can't sleep at night, or you wake up extra early, even almost 24 hours after you've had that dose of caffeine. You could be a slow metabolizer, meaning you don't clear the caffeine very rapidly, meaning if you do become pregnant, some of that caffeine is, or more of your caffeine is actually going to be able to cross your placenta. Okay, so that's really what's going on when babies or fetuses are exposed to caffeine. It does cross the placenta. So keep that in mind. And one of the most recent studies on caffeine in fertility and early pregnancy show that the preconception caffeine intake that a mom had didn't seem to matter much as long as it was moderate. But within pregnancy, there was an association between her dose of caffeine and risk of miscarriage. So it's really important to get a handle on this before you conceive, so that you're used to a more moderate caffeine intake if you're going to have caffeine at all. For men, a study published in 2015 actually found that caffeine negatively impacts sperm development. And again, it was found that at lower concentrations, the impact was not too bad, or not actually, it wasn't negative. But at higher doses and higher concentrations, similar to a high dose or a high intake of coffee, for example, that was damaging to sperm. So we have all these factors and kind of confounding variables when it comes to caffeine. So that's why today's challenge isn't necessarily you have to go and cut out your caffeine altogether right now, because the research really doesn't necessarily show that. But you're an individual, and if you're not clearing your caffeine and you feel jittery and you can't sleep, it's time to take a really good look at your caffeine intake and get to know how much you're actually taking in, because it might be more than you think. And if you're going to have any caffeinated beverages, I do highly recommend trying organic, because both coffee and tea are two of the most pesticide-laden crops out there in the world, and you can do a lot for the environment and for your health by choosing organic for those. So I hope that helps with clarifying why caffeine is such an issue and some of the confusion around it. So to fulfill your challenge, pop up on the Facebook chat how much are you taking in now, if any, and what you plan to do about your caffeine situation going forward. And I'll look forward to chatting with you about that soon, and I hope you have a nice, calm, less caffeinated day today. Bye.